And hello YouTube, this is GSmaniamsmart, and I'm today going to bring a video for tutorials of GS. Now, some of you may have known I uploaded a video called Adobe After Effects CC Beginner's Guide. Now, that video basically went over what Adobe After Effects is. It told you some techniques. It gave you a mini tutorial on how to use After Effects. It told you what After Effects can do. And I basically went over a sample project on how to edit a video, add some effects to it, and then export the video. Now I've decided to do the same thing with Adobe Photoshop, and this is going to be a beginner's guide as well. It's going to go over what Photoshop can do, going to go over some techniques, and give you, a sample project on me working on a photo. Now, hopefully this is helpful to some of you. Those of you who are familiar with GIMP, the free image editing software, you'll probably be familiar with Photoshop because it's very similar. Photoshop is just a lot more powerful, a lot more customizable, a lot more features that can be customizable in greater depth than GIMP can. So if you're familiar with GIMP, you may be familiar with Photoshop. But if you have never touched Photoshop, this is a great tutorial for you because we're going to be going over some of the basics and teaching you some of the great things you can do in Adobe Photoshop. Now I do have the CC version. If you have CS6 or CS5, you can probably do most of these things that I'm going to do right here. I've only used CS6 and CC, so I'm pretty sure you can do everything I'm going to do here in CS6. If you'd like to work on the same images that I'm going to be using in this project, you can go to the description and download the images that I'm going to be working on so you can follow along precisely with this tutorial and have a more hands-on experience and basically work in the same path that I'm working on so you can learn a little easier. Now if you have your own images, you can use your own images for this tutorial, or if you're just watching this for general knowledge, then I guess you don't need to have Photoshop open or follow along. You just need to watch the video. But if you're following along, then go ahead and download the folder I have in the description, or open up your own image. And the first step in Photoshop is going to be to open up your image. So if we go up to File, we go to Open, and we're going to open up our Lighthouse Original. Now the first thing you generally always want to do when you have a picture open in Photoshop and you're ready to edit, the first thing I always like to do is crop my image, position my image correctly so that the image looks good and I can start working with it with its general position correct. Now there's a few things we see wrong with this picture. One, we have a lot of space in the sides here. The focus of this is mainly the lighthouse here, and maybe we want to cut some of the top out here, or cut some of the bottom out here, or whatever you want to do with your picture. If you want to crop out a specific area in your picture, you can do that with the crop tool, and the crop tool is over here. You can also press C on your keyboard and it'll pop up. Now when you have your crop tool selected, you'll see these little tabs here at the bottom in the corners, and if you move these, you can change the crop area of the image. If you go up to your options tool, you can also change the ratio of it. And you can go by resolution, you can go by aspect ratios, 16:9 you can go, which is what I have it at now. And if you move this, the aspect ratio stays the same. You could change these to different ratios and begin cropping them. You can also go to original ratio, whatever ratio you use on your camera to shoot the image, you can go ahead and use that same ratio in Photoshop. And you can also even crop by width times height resolution. You could type in your own custom resolution, and we're going to go ahead and crop this by 1920 by 1080 pixels. If you wanted to use different pixels, you would just type in the numbers up here. And when you have your crop selection ready, all you gotta do is you can move it around as well if you want. All you have to do is double click the image and it will automatically crop for you. Now after we've cropped it, you can use your zoom tool here to zoom in. Now if you want to go 100% zoom, this will basically zoom into its original resolution. You can go fit screen, which will basically fit the whole image on your screen, or you can go to fill screen, which will fill your whole window in Photoshop. I prefer to use fit screen. Another cool thing with the crop tool that you can do is you can actually straighten images. For example, we see that our horizon here, our skyline, is sort of crooked. It's sort of slanted going down to the left. Now, instead of sitting there and rotating this image to perfection, what you could do is go to Edit, and you could rotate it using the Transform option. However, where is the Transform option actually? Here it is, Transform. But what you can do in an easier way is you could actually go to Straighten here, use this tool right here. This option is within the Crop tool. And when you click Straighten here, you'll be able to draw a line. And we're going to go ahead and draw a line on our horizon here. And it'll automatically straighten the image for you. You don't need to play around with the Rotate tool, and you'll get a straightened version of the image. When you like it the way it looks, you can press the check mark button here, and we now have a much more straighter horizon than we had before. Now, we've gone over how to crop an image, we've gone over how to zoom into an image, and we've gone over how to straighten images if they are crooked. Now, one cool thing about Photoshop, and many people use Photoshop merely just for this reason, is to fix images, to fix imperfections, such as this black spot in the clouds here, or perhaps these cracks on the bottom of this lighthouse, or perhaps to fix this grass area right here that looks a little old right here, that has some dirt, some deep dirt imperfections. Photoshop can be used for perfecting your images and even moving certain parts of your image. For example, we wanted to move this island over here, we could actually move this island to a closer part of the ocean, and it could actually work like that. And what Photoshop uses is a feature called content awareness. Now, what content awareness does, it basically takes an area of your image and analyzes the image, and it basically fills in the area of imperfection with the background. And it's easier to show you with a demonstration than an explanation. So let's go ahead and just try to make this black spot go away from the clouds here. Now, as you can see, if we were to just erase this, we would be erasing the black spot and the clouds behind it, but we only want to erase the black spot. So the eraser tool won't really work here. So what we're going to be using is the spot healing brush tool. Now, if you don't see a spot healing brush tool, what you can do is go over one of these tools, and you see a little white box, or a little white arrow, a little white mark at the bottom right corner of each tool. That means there are several other tools that are grouped with that tool, and your spot healing brush tool will be right here. When you have a spot healing brush tool, what you want to do is you want to make sure that your brush size is big enough so that it covers the spot you want to make go away. So we're going to change our brush size up here to something a little bigger, and we're going to make it big enough so that it's a little bigger than the actual spot. And when we have our brush size, all we gotta do is center the spot in our brush, click, and Photoshop automatically magically makes it go away and fills in the erased portion with the background of the clouds. Now, when you do this, you want to make sure you have content awareness up here checkmarked, or it will not work. Now, you could do this with several other parts of the image as well. For example, if you wanted to make the cracks go away in the bottom of this lighthouse, we could do the same thing with the spot healing brush tool. In this case, we would use a smaller brush size, and all we would have to do is draw over the cracks here. And as you can see, Photoshop uses the surrounding area of the imperfections to fill in the cracks. We can do the same thing over here, the same thing over here. And you could do this with several other parts of your images. If you wanted to make these little imperfections go away, you could do that as well. And you could slowly make this lighthouse look a lot more cleaner. So that's the power of the spot healing brush tool. Now what you could also do is you could make larger regions go away as well. For example, if you wanted to make this dirt indentation right here go away, we could do the same thing. Now with the spot healing brush tool, it's going to be a little harder because as you can see, if we go over this, it won't really do much. So what you want to do in this scenario is here, if you ever want to undo something, you press Alt Control Z or Command Z on the Mac. What you want to do in this case is use the Lasso Tool, and the next thing you want to do is basically draw a selection around the area you want to fix. Now make sure that you don't draw your selection around, don't get a portion of the yellow here, or it will actually make your grass turn, a little bit of this yellow. So you make sure that you select the area a little bigger than it actually is to get some of the grass in your selection, but make sure you don't get some of this yellow from the actual lighthouse. Now when you have your selection made, you go up to Edit, go to Fill, make sure this is set to Content Aware, click OK, and as you can see, the grass has now been fixed. If we go up to Select, Deselect, you can continue to fix this if you continue to make selections like right here. Then go up to Edit again, Fill, Content Aware, OK. As you can see, you can continue to perfect your image as you like. Now another method for doing this is with the Clone Stamp tool. Now the Clone Stamp tool is right here. Now the problem with the Clone Stamp tool is that the Clone Stamp tool is only really good for colors that are purely one color, base colors, or colors that don't have lots of shades, lots of variety. The grass here has lots of shades, the green has lots of variety, different colors. It's not just one green. So if you were to use the Clone Stamp tool, hold down Alt, click an area you want to copy, and start coloring. It won't really look as good as if we were to do it with the content aware fill. So you could use the Clone Stamp tool in certain situations and certain scenarios, but you don't want to use it, for more complex content awareness editing, because I think content awareness and the fill feature will be a lot more effective. So we're just going to go ahead and undo that real quick. So the next thing we're going to do is show you how to move certain parts of your image. For example, oops, what did I just do? I meant the zoom tool. Say we wanted to move this island right here. Say we wanted to move this island closer to this island. We could do that very thing by using the Lasso tool once again, making a selection around our portion of the image, and then we go over to the Spot Healing Brush tool, and we would change this to Content Awareness Move tool. And now when you move this, make sure that your mode appears set to move. You'll see that it automatically fills in the background, and you can move this island to wherever you'd like. Very powerful feature in Photoshop, and you can pretty much edit your photos however you like with this feature. Move anything around in your pictures, and basically fill in the background with what the background should be. And this is actually a really impressive feature that was added in CS6, so it's a relatively new feature and it works really good. Now, we've shown you how to use the Spot Healing tool brush to fix imperfections. We've shown you how to do it with larger regions, and we've also shown you how to move certain parts of your images. Now next thing we're going to do is go over layers, adjustment layers, adding text, and even adding other photos to your images, such as a logo, or adding another image to your current photo right here. So we're going to start off with layers and adjustment layers. Let's go ahead and zoom out real quick first, fit screen. Now, what an adjustment layer is, it's basically a layer on top of your image that basically adjusts the image. Now, previously, before layers were even introduced in image editing, you would go to Image Adjustments, and for example, Hue Saturation. We turn the saturation up here. It makes the colors become more vibrant and vivid. So when we make our adjustment, the adjustment will be made, and it would permanently apply the adjustment to your image. Now, if you were to make other edits, such as add text, or if you were to move some more islands, or clone stamp some things, or use a spot hitting tool brush, all those edits would be saved to this image. And if you wanted to take the adjustment layer, if you want to take the adjustment off, say you don't want this very vivid color, it will be nearly impossible to take the adjustment off, because you've done a bunch of other things to the photo already. So you would have to undo everything you've done just to take off the adjustment. Now, with adjustment layers, you don't need to worry about that. You can basically just check mark a layer here to turn it on or off, which will basically serve as the on and off switch for that single adjustment. So if you don't want the adjustment anymore, then you can just click the eyeball, which will be right here, and it will basically take it off. So we're going to demonstrate that right now with the same effect that we just used, which was hue saturation. So if we go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, Hue Saturation, click OK, and as you can see, when we move this slider up, our adjustment will be saved as a new layer right here. So we basically have a layer here that we can turn off and turn back on with a little eyeball here. So if you were to later on in your edit not want this adjustment anymore, you can just click the eyeball and it will turn off, or you can delete this entire layer here. And this is the power of adjustment layers. Very neat little feature for Photoshop. Now, another thing you can do with Photoshop is transform certain parts of your images and keep certain other parts the same. So if we wanted to turn this background here black and white, but keep our lighthouse here colored, we could do that. We're going to go ahead and add another adjustment layer. Layer, New Adjustment Layer, Black and White. Click OK. As you can see, here we have a black and white layer. Now we turn this off. You'll see that our hue saturation layer is there. If we turn the hue saturation layer off, we have our original image. And if you only want to turn the black and white off, you could do that as well. So once we have that, the next step is to make this portion of the lighthouse colored. Now the way this works is that Photoshop works with masks. Whenever you create a new adjustment layer, a mask is created. And our mask is this white little area right here. Now masks work with black and white. Whatever is white will basically will be affected by the adjustment layer. Whatever is black will not be affected by the adjustment layer. So what you would have to do to basically make this lighthouse be colored, you have to go to your black and white layer right here, and you'd have to color whatever you want to be part of the original layer black. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and go over here and change this to black, and then we're going to go to our brush tool, which is right here, change it to brush, and we're going to go ahead and use a much larger brush for this. And make sure that you have your black and white layer selected, and if we color over it, not only will you see that the color will not be shown, but if we look over here, there's also black being shown on this layer mask, which goes to show you that whatever is black will basically be hidden, and whatever is white will not be hidden for that adjustment. If we color over, the black is going to hide the adjustment, and the white around it will show the adjustment. Now instead of having to color over all of this and be very precise in the edge here, there's an easier way to do this. So we're going to go ahead and undo this. An easier way to do this is to automatically select this entire lighthouse. Now, wouldn't it be awesome if we could just, with one button, select the entire lighthouse and then color over it, so we don't have to be very precise with our brush tool? Well, yes, there's a way to do that. If we go to our lasso tool here, well, not our lasso tool, our select tool here, I believe it is. Where is it? Trying to find it. Here it is, quick selection tool. Now, when you have your quick selection tool, what you can then do is basically just start clicking parts of the photo that you want to have selected. You can drag the selection over here, and it will basically select. Photoshop will basically estimate what you want selected in the picture here. Now, it's not going to get it perfect, but for the most part, it'll do a pretty good job. Now, if you wanted to fix these little parts right here, you press Alt and just click the areas you don't want, and Photoshop will fix up the selection. Same thing over here. And as you can see, the selection gets better and better. Now that we have our selection around the lighthouse, what you do next is go back to your brush tool, and you can begin to just color over it very quickly, like so. And you can even use a bigger brush size for this to make it even quicker, like so. And anything that Photoshop may miss, you can adjust your brush size again, and you can manually add. But I think for the most part we got everything here. Yeah. So as you can see, now we have the black portion of this layer here. It is now visible, and the white portion basically shows the adjustment, while the black portion doesn't show the adjustment layer. And that's kind of how masks work. Whether you're creating a mask to, take away adjustments or to show certain parts in the image, remember that black always makes things invisible, white makes them visible. So in this layer, the black and white is visible in the white, and the black and white is invisible in the black. And last thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add a logo, and we're going to add some text. So we want to add another image to this image. We go to Open, we go to Place, and here we have our lighthouse logo. And as you can see, it automatically places it, and we can make this bigger or smaller. If you hold Shift on your keyboard, it will keep the aspect ratio the same. We're going to go ahead and put this image right about here. Actually, right about over here. And double click, and it'll automatically place it down. And as you can see, a smart object of this image is created right here. It's basically another layer, but this is a smart object. Now what a smart object is, if you were to resize this layer down some again, if you were to resize it, increasing it or decreasing it in scale, you will not lose any quality. That is the positive side of having a smart object, that whenever you scale things, you will not lose any quality. Now that we've added a logo, we've added another picture to our original picture right here. Let's go ahead and add some text as well. If you use your text tool right here and use our vertical type tool, all you have to do is find an area in your picture we want to type, click, and we can begin typing. And if you wanted to highlight all this and go up here to your options, you can change the font size of it, you can change the color of it, even like so. You can change the font, use this one, not this one. Let's use this one right here. Let's make it a little bigger. 60. And if you wanted to go back and edit it, all you'd have to do is click on the text again. And we're going to go ahead and make this particular part yellow. And as you can see, now we have a text layer here. We have a smart object layer with our logo. We have a adjustment layer for black and white, an adjustment layer for the hue saturation. If we were to unclick this, you actually see that the adjustment layer is taken off from the lighthouse here. But we're going to keep it on. And we have our original image here, which if we take it off, everything basically goes away. So that's pretty much it for the basics of Photoshop. We've taught you how to add text, add pictures, create adjustment layers, adjust your picture in position, cropping it, straightening it. And the last thing I teach you is how to save your image to share with your friends or to save it for further editing later. Now this is very important because if you go up to File, you'll see that there are several options. You have Save for Web, you have Save As, you have Save. Now whenever you're starting on a new project, whenever you've started editing a picture that you've never edited before, you always want to click Save As. And what Save As will do, it'll basically allow you to save it as a PSD. A PSD file will allow you to edit the picture later on. So if we were to name this Lighthouse Edited, save it as a PSD, click on Save, click OK here. If we were to close this now, go to File, go to Open, go to Lighthouse Edited. All of our layers are saved and we can continue to edit as we like. Now if you wanted to save this image to post on Facebook or to share with your friends, you'd go to File, Save for Web, and here you could then choose your type. You could choose PNG, a GIF, so JPEG, I'm going to save it as a JPEG, and then you go to Save at the bottom here, and you could then select a place to save your image at. Lighthouse Edited, JPEG, Save. If we were to go to that folder, you'll see that we have the edited version of the image right here. Now if we were to go ahead and close this, go to File, Open, and open the edited version, you'll see that we can no longer edit the layers. There's no layers here, and this picture is basically final. But if we were to go ahead and open the PSD version, the layers are here. So this is a very important thing to understand and remember when you're saving your work. If you want to save it for web or save it for sharing, make sure you click Save for Web. And when you're saving it for later editing, click Save As and make sure you have PSD. You can also change the file format here. If you don't want to use the Save for Web feature, you can pick your format here. As you can see, we have PNG here as well, and we do have JPEG here as well. So you could use the Save As feature and select your format here as well and not need to use the Save for Web. The Save for Web feature does have some other things though that help make the metadata for your image. So it's better to use the Save for Web, especially if you're going to be using it for a website or uploading it somewhere. But either way works just fine. And that's pretty much it. That's how to use Photoshop. Those are the basics. Hopefully you've understood how to do some basic things, how to use some of these basic techniques, and hopefully you've gained a better understanding of how Photoshop is such a powerful image editing software with so many tools to it. And I'll definitely be making more videos in the future for advanced tutorials and tutorials on a lot of these other tools, because there's a lot of things Photoshop can do. These few things that we showed you are just some basic things that you're probably going to be using in a lot of your images. You know, we've added hue saturation, but honestly there's so many other things you could do. If we go to adjustment layers, you know, we have, you know, selective color, gradient map, we have, you know, channel, photo filler, color balance, and not only that, but we have a lot of 3D options. We also have, you know, blurs, stylize, noise, distort, a lot of cool things that you could do with Photoshop, but those are a little more advanced. We'll be going over those in future tutorials. So hopefully you can now use Photoshop for your future edits and make your pictures look a lot more professional and a lot better. Thank you for watching, and I hope this video helped you out in any way. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. It'll really help me out. If you didn't like it, you can leave a comment as well, giving some feedback. If you have any other comments or questions, please leave them in the comments as well, and I'll do my best to answer them. I usually respond to comments within 24 to 48 hours, depending on your question and depending on how busy I am. I have plenty of other content on my channel about different software tutorials and how-to videos, so if you're interested in that type of stuff, check it out. And if you like what you're seeing, you can subscribe too. Really appreciate it. You can also check out my other channels and social media as shown on the screen right now. And with that, thank you so much everyone, and this is GSmaniamsmart, and I'll be back sooner than you think. Don't go anywhere.